Time for the bonus objective review. I asked what Sesame Street feature you wanted me to do after Let Me Eat Cake, and most of the votes went to the first theatrical movie they've done, Follow That Bird. With how popular Sesame Street was, it was only a matter of time before it hit the big screen. Much like the Muppet Movie, or perhaps even Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Follow That Bird would take the existing TV show's concept and make it fit better for a movie, with the help of a budget, of course. It would also feature most of the known cast of Sesame Street, and would be written by Frudberg and Geist themselves. The most surprising thing about this is that the movie producer is Tony Garnett, who was involved in Prostitute and Earth Girls Are Easy. Okay. And this film was directed by Ken Kawais, who would later direct Dunstan Checks In. I should be worried, but apparently critics and audiences like this movie a lot. So let's follow that bird and see if that acclaim is justified.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the Grouch Anthem?
No. With a Grouch Anthem, you stay sitting down.
Finally, a national anthem I can get behind. Admittingly, this would have worked for a normal Sesame Street segment, but as a cold opening, this is still very enjoyable since you can never go wrong with Oscar the Grouch. Anyway, we truly open at the Feathered Friends' Board of Birds. The meeting is chaired by Madam Chairbird, voiced by Noelle McNeil, who's discussing a sad case of a bird living alone.
He's only 6 years old, and he lives all alone, with no other birds around.
That's funny. He looks happy to me.
Of course he's not happy.
If I didn't know any better, I'd say this is about people who excessively worry about other people's kids and the company they keep. This is made apparent with one of the birds, Miss Finch, dubbed by Sally Kellerman, but whose suit actor is Cheryl Wagner. I only mention this because the filmmakers didn't think Kellerman's voice was appropriate for the character.
He needs to be with his own kind. With a bird family. Where does he live?
Sesame Street.
Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?
She said it! And right on cue, we have a remix of the song as we enter the titular street. Most of the film was done in Ontario, Canada, with enhanced sets that make it look bigger than normal. Otherwise, actor Northern Calloway, who's known for playing the character David, couldn't appear here due to having a criminal record. Now here's Big Bird skating around, minding his own business, trying to make friends with a bird that's passing by. This might lead to something, but otherwise he gets into an accident after the telly monster drops some cans.
Are you all right, Big? You are Big Bird.
Yeah, I guess I am.
This is worse than I thought.
Okay, I was kidding earlier, but she and the other board members sound like those conservative folk who have a narrow view of what's good or bad for the children. Because as this scene goes on, it's apparent that Miss Finch is trying to convince Big Bird that his current home isn't that good. What Finch doesn't know is that the local residents aren't just friends to Big Bird, they are pretty much his found family. But apparently that isn't good enough since they aren't birds. And look, I know he tends to live in a nest outside all by himself while still being a kid, but he's a Muppet, and they operate on their own rules. But the thought of having a bird family and doing bird things gets Big Bird wondering what it would look like. Heh, St. Louis Cardinals, 'cause they're birds. By the way, these animated sequences were done by Toronto's Animation House Limited, and as far as I can tell, this was their only known project. So Big Bird accepts Miss Finch's proposal, much to the confusion of his friends who are listening in. So he has a heartfelt goodbye to Snuffy, who promises to watch over his nest.
Oh, Snuffy, I guess this is goodbye.
Oh, bird, I hate to see you go.
Definitely some heavy stuff. I sure hope nothing happens that could potentially make people cry. Big Bird also says his farewells to the human and Muppet cast, at least those who could make it, and once again we are shown that they consider him to be family.
I'll read every day.
Oh, Bird, don't forget to eat.
I won't, Cookie Monster. Well, goodbye, Oscar.
Why, that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Oh, Oscar, you're so funny. Big Bird then boards a plane and goes to Ocean View, Illinois, a place that's nowhere near the ocean. Har har. Either way, time to meet his new family, the Dodos. The dad is voiced by Brian Holefield, the mom is voiced by Lorraine Newman, brother Donnie is voiced by Eddie Deason, aka Eugene from Grease, and sister Mary is voiced by Kathy Silvers, aka Jenny from Happy Days. They seem nice enough, but as their names imply, they're pretty dumb.
Why, I'm Big Bird.
No, you're not. You're Big Dodo.
Sheesh, the instant someone adopts you, you're forced to live with a new name that doesn't fit you at all. They get to the Dodo family birdhouse, very clever, and Big Bird is already having second thoughts about coming here. This is further driven home when he sends a letter back to Sesame Street, in which he details about the things they do for a living.
Spend a lot of time there digging for worms. The Dodos have lots of great things like a lawn mower you can ride on.
And judging by Big Bird's expression, and what is in the letter he wrote, it's clear that this new way of living isn't actually good for him.
I should be happy here. What's wrong with me?
Oh, Big Bird, nothing's wrong with you. You were forced into something for the sake of someone else's ego. The next day, Big Bird is already losing patience over his siblings. He receives a large postcard from Snuffy, who's asking if he could come visit, but the family tells him that he should only be friends with birds.
I want Snuffy to come and visit, and if he can't come and visit, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go home.
You are home.
This might seem pretty heady for a movie based on a kids show, but Sesame Street has been down that path before. A good example came when Will Lee, the actor playing the popular character Mr. Hooper, died in 1982. The creators talked about how to address the absence, and instead of offering an in-universe explanation like he retired and moved away, the show revealed, during an episode that aired on Thanksgiving, Mr. Hooper died, and he isn't coming back.
Why, who's going to take care of the store? And who's going to make my birds eat milkshakes and tell me stories?
I'm going to take care of the store. Mr. Hooper, he left it to me. And I'll make you your milkshakes, and we'll all tell you stories, and we'll make sure you're okay.
Well, it won't be the same.
It was a bold move to make, and it's an effective way to teach kids about the reality of death and that you can move forward from it. So discussing the topic of adults forcing kids to conform to their standards doesn't feel that out of place. I want to be clear, not all adoptive families are going to be as obnoxious or as bad as the Dodos, but it is clear that Big Bird is only in this mess because of a closed-minded grown-up who should have known better. Anyway, Big Bird decides to run away. Let's learn all about it with Chevy Chase.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for neighbor. Would you be mine?
With you? No thanks. Moving on, he mentions how Big Bird ran away and is heading to...
Sesame Street.
Sesame Street.
Sesame Street.
Okay, that's funny. Also, we get a rare Kermit cameo, since Jim Henson is still around at this point.
But I'm walking back to Sesame Street. I should be there in 3 hours, since it took 2 hours to fly here.
Oh, Big Bird, you poor, dumb child. Other residents are watching, but more importantly, we have two new characters. Sid and Sam Sleaze, played by Joe Flaherty and Dave Thomas, respectively. They secretly want Big Bird for themselves. If Miss Finch doesn't get to him first.
Well, what are you going to do about it, Miss Finch?
I'm going to find Big Bird wherever he is and bring him back to the dodos.
Child abduction? What's that? The Sesame Street residents decide to organize and find Big Bird. Bob puts together a road map and assigns different routes for everyone, including the Robinsons, Grover, Maria, Oscar, and of course, the Count.
1, 2, 3 cars going to find Big Bird.
Oh, you just wait until you see it in the field. So this is when the movie shifts into a musical road comedy, because everyone is going to different parts of the country. Grover isn't driving though. He'll take a taxi first. And Bert and Ernie decide to one-up everyone by flying a plane. As for Big Bird, he's reached a farm and is looking for a ride.
Do you have room for just one more?
I don't take no riders. This here's a turkey truck.
My friend Oscar always says that I'm a big turkey.
You ever think maybe Oscar is bullying you?
Ouch! Big Bird feather.
Here is where Big Bird learns the hard way about how long it will take him to get home.
3 weeks? Oh no, I'll never get home.
Sure you will. Listen to me, son.
I found out a long time ago. You gotta learn to say yes when life says no.
Well, at least Waylon Jennings can sing well, as does everyone else on the road for that matter. And the more screen time for the Countmobile, the better. Seriously, this thing is hardcore. I love it. After that, we cut to a fun fair run by the Sleaze brothers, and they want Big Bird as a paid attraction.
Hey, let me down!
Want to get down? It'll cost you another nickel. It's 10 cents for the round trip, kid.
10 cents? What a ripoff! That's my apple.
Well, this just ain't your day, is it, kid?
Yeah, this sort of thing tracks. Back with Big Bird, he's at another farm where 2 kids let him stay for a bit. From what I understand, the footage here was unusable, so they had to reshoot in the winter, and that meant spray painting the leaves green in some places. Then night rolls around and Big Bird gets some alone time.
One little star, all alone in the sky. Do you ever get lonely?
Of course, some other Sesame Street characters are singing at the same time. It's another nice scene. So let's follow up with a little Grouch chaos at a diner.
Hey, wait, Rick! There's no fun in my suit! That's coming!
Hey, I need a glass.
Broken or dirty?
Hey, look at this real Grouch dining. Meatloaf with marshmallow sauce, candied clams with French dressing.
Now, this is very amusing because Oscar was based on a rude and grouchy waiter who worked in an Oscar's Tavern in Manhattan. I like to think that this scene is a reminder of the character's origins, and you even get a bit of a homage to that waiter, played this time by Sandra Bernhard.
2 tossed salads!
Salad for everybody!
Anyway, the kids show Big Bird what groundwater is while singing a song about being friends forever.
It's gonna be so easy going.
But Miss Finch is closing in on him, and Big Bird is forced to hide in a hayfield. So long, BFFs! After escaping, Big Bird hallucinates and sees Snuffy, since again, most Sesame Street characters thought he was some imaginary friend before meeting him. But Snuffy tells Big Bird to keep going, when suddenly, Bert and Ernie pass by in a plane.
Sure looks like a yellow spot, all right.
Ernie, do something so he knows we're here, quick!
Okay, hang on, Bert.
So, fun fact, Frank Oz and Jim Henson were really in that plane with their Muppets. Obviously they can't do much during the faraway shots, but considering they're set down a lot of the time, it's just nuts they did this. And it's so on brand for Ernie to torment Bert.
There's upside down people who walk down the
If it's not Oscar providing the good times for me, it's definitely these two. And their performers really nailed the chemistry they have. But from all that flying, they lost Big Bird, so back to square one. Meanwhile, Super Grover spots Gordon and crew in their car, and somehow thinks that's Big Bird.
Big Bird! Big Bird, I found you! Big Bird! This is not Big Bird. You are imposters!
Gordon's going to have one hefty repair bill after all this. We then see the Sleaze brothers find Big Bird. They try to catch him, only to lose him immediately.
He's gone.
How could you miss him? He's 8 feet tall!
You were going too fast!
Still, everyone is converging towards the town of Toadstool, except for Oscar, who's deliberately holding up Maria by stopping over at other places.
Oscar, I want you to turn this heap around and head for Toadstool.
Ah, an angry face in a beautiful place. Heaven.
What did I ever do to deserve this? So Big Bird arrives at Toadstool, where a parade is going on. He gets chased some more by Miss Finch, but then his Sesame Street friends show up just in time. It'll take a while to wade through the parade and find him though, and even the Sleaze brothers are here to complicate matters. Big Bird runs into said brothers and asks for their help to hide him. So naturally, they capture him, basically abduct him at this point, and then for their act...
I'm a bluebird that's been dreaming of a rainbow I can follow.
What's so happy about him? Nothing! This is just sad! Listen!
A smile to greet me, or just a simple hello, how are you? Oh, without them, I'm so blue.
Well, they got a scene that might get kids to cry, and even some adults might join in because this is really depressing. Big Bird just wants to go home, damn it! What cruel monsters would do this? Luckily, 2 kids from the crowd are here and sneak into the backstage. Big Bird tells them to call Sesame Street, which they do, and I guess all of Big Bird's friends regroup at a nearby gas station. They think up plans to free Big Bird, and all they could come up with is sneaking around to find the key to his cell. But then the baddies wake up, leading to a chase scene where the cage is open, but Big Bird is still inside.
Sis, you drive.
Why me? What?
I've got an idea. Okay, let's follow that bird.
Title drop. Gordon and Olivia give chase, and the former decides to climb atop his Volkswagen. He tells Big Bird to jump over to his side where he can catch him, but it's a hard sell. And justifiably so.
I'm not supposed to do this. Why, you should never jump from a moving truck.
You have my permission, just this once. Now come on!
Remember, the rules for kids can't cover every scenario, so it's fine to break them when context calls for it. Honestly, the only reason this works is because the Sleaze brothers were too distracted to notice any of this. Naturally, they get caught by the cops.
Are these the 2 men?
Okay, that was funny, but I wouldn't put it past them to do that for real. So at long last, Big Bird returns to Sesame Street. Miss Finch is there to stop him one last time, but this time the other residents tell her off by saying that they are Big Bird's family.
Well, we're all happy here on Sesame Street.
Sure.
And we've got all kinds. We've got people.
You tell him.
And cows.
She's right about that.
And birds.
That's me!
We've got monsters.
Where monsters?
And you're all happy?
People can be happy with different kinds of people? Impossible! But she gets the hint and lets Big Bird live in Sesame Street. Big Bird reunites with Snuffy, and as we wind down, we see Gordon coming back with his destroyed Volkswagen.
Our insurance man is never going to this.
Once more around the block, Bruno.
Sure, boss.
Yeah, I gotta walk off some of this happy stuff.
This This movie is very wholesome and very funny. Because it doesn't have the usual segments from the TV show, the plot gets more time to develop and be more elaborate. And of course, the major theme of the story relates to found family and how people different from you don't have to be a source of danger and suspicion. They can go to great lengths for your sake because they like you for who you are. The humor gets very creative once the road trip portion begins. We see characters fly, cause havoc in a diner, jump from moving trucks, and it's all entertaining for just about any audience. Really, this is a quintessential Muppet movie that hits all the right notes. It has some fun performances from the cast and some good songs. It's currently free to watch on YouTube, and if you ever need something wholesome to watch with friends or family, you can't go wrong with this one. I am the Media Hunter. Media's my prey, and reviewing them my way.
'Cause there ain't no mountain you can't climb if you hang on tight and just make up your mind.
Once you set your heart to moving on, son.